Okay, so hello. Today we are in Athens and it happens to be the International Day of Light. Tonight we're going to a special conference that's been organised, but we had a bit of free time this afternoon, so we are hanging out with Panos Andrikopoulos.
Well pronounced, excellent. And we are at the Acropolis Museum in Athens. Panos is going to tell us a bit about what he does here. We're going to have a look at the museum, maybe even try on a weird skull cap with electrodes in my brain.
If we have time.
If we have time.
And what we're interested in is this museum here that we're looking at, we're actually going to visit in 5 minutes from now, and how important is light on visitor experience in this museum. There is a really nice quote from the president of the museum when the project was finished. The design of the lighting, daylight and artificial light, was from Arab lighting designers. It was Florence Lam and Vicky Malakasi that was working for Arab back then. So the president of the museum went in, saw the finished project, or that's what the myth says at least, and said that you gave me two museums, meaning that the daylight and the artificial light is a completely different experience. So that's how we interpret that quote. So we started looking at how the experience changes when the lighting conditions change. You're really unlucky because you must be, it's probably the only day in Athens that is not sunny.
The sun is out. Yeah.
So it's during the day, it's a complete daylit space, especially the Parthenon Gallery, which is built in the same cardinal orientation, scale, and trying to mimic the atmospheric conditions that are up in the Acropolis, which is 300 meters from where we're standing right now. And it's trying to mimic light as well. So the research is about how light affects visiting experience within a museum environment, and this is the best case study ever, because if you think about it from my point of view, you have to research visitor experience within a museum. You have to go into a museum. It's a really sensitive environment. Change all the logistics, change the spotlights, or create different lighting conditions to do comparative analysis. And then get some focus groups to visit the museum. We're really happy that you're part of our focus group today. So that's really difficult, but when you think about the Acropolis Museum, it makes things really easy, because the lighting conditions themselves change during the course of the day or the time of the year and so on. So it's really different if you come now or if you come at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. And if you're standing at the west wing or the east wing, it's really different. And so there are differences that you can look into and study and find patterns within visiting experience that change, instead of playing around with spotlight within a museum that wouldn't make any director of a museum happy.
Yeah.
So, I have an enlightenment. I have to be honest here. The idea of doing the research was when we were visiting with my soon-to-be wife, going up in the museum, having an experience which was not really a museum experience, rather a romantic date experience. And I was like, that's not normal. That's not something I've done before in a museum. So I started thinking about, this is sunset in a museum, creates a completely different storytelling, if you like, and gives to the context, the light adds to the context of the exhibits. So here we are, and we can go in and have it. Surprisingly, our research is not driven by the tools we're using. So what you were wearing is actually what is called an electroencephalography. So back in the day, if you were medically tested for dyslexia or epilepsy, you would go up in a lab, in a medical lab, wear like a huge hat with 100 wires coming off your head, 124 wires, and so on. But now that technology has gone mobile. So that allows us to change where we conduct research. That allows us to go actually in situ and research the experience itself, rather than just going to a black lab and play around with some lights.
So what does the hat measure?
So it measures potential on the scalp surface.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to start using funny words, that's brain waves, really. So it's pretty much a brain imaging technique. It's an old school brain imaging technique. It became a bit posh now, so everyone is using. A lot of people are using it, and they're reintroducing it as something super high tech. It's not really. So it's 130 years old technique, but now it's mobile, and that makes a huge difference. And we can actually, by putting some electrodes on the top of your scalp, we can actually monitor the brain activity by monitoring how potential changes and shift on the top of your head, of your scalp. And from that, you can infer emotions or cognitive responses or emotional responses to people from existing research on emotional responses and cognition. And that's the same that the wristband that you were wearing on your hand, that measures electrodermal activity or skin conductance. You know, when if you're on your first date and your palm gets sweaty because you're stressed and so on, that in medical terms, that's called medical psychology terms, that is called emotional sweating. That's because your hands and your forehead sweating in your forehead and palms and palmar surfaces and plantar surfaces. It's related not to thermoregulation, so it's not for you to feel easier in a warmer climate like this one. It's related to emotional responses. So if you're stressed, your hands get sweaty. And by monitoring those physiological measures like brain waves and electrodermal activity, we can infer responses to people within a space.
And how are you relating that to light then? Because ultimately your research is about light, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So how are you relating what you're recording to light?
So we do study different focus groups in different times of the day. So we do comparative analysis of the experience during midday and the experience during nighttime. And we also do a separate focus group, which is the evening, the sunset really. The sunset is a completely different one because the sunset is really, as we all know, is really fast. So it's really hard. You know, you went up there and you walked yourself. I wasn't there telling you what to do.
Yeah.
You made your own choices. So it's really hard to have the same exact condition with the sun setting so fast. It's like half an hour.
In one place,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you turn right and you don't turn left, that means that you're going to see a completely different. You're going to have a completely different experience in the west wing or the east wing.
Yeah.
The west wing, really. So we compare midday to artificial daylight to artificial light, and evening, and we do comparisons between wings. So the east wing and the west wing,
Yeah.
the north wing and the south wing. And it's the Parthenon Gallery is really nice. It's a really nice template and a really nice place to do research like that because it has pretty much the same exhibit, the same story being told all over.
Yeah.
So it's the same story, the same artist, the same exhibit that goes the west, the east,
Yeah.
the south, and the north wing. So that pretty much leaves only light
Yeah.
being the difference
Yeah,
that
you
causes
imagine
the
if you're going
experience.
from a room.